Welcome back, everybody, to the Lost Legion. I'm joined, as always, by JR. I'm getting ready for Blizzard Force with my blanket on.
Hell yeah.
Dieter and Daniel, I am demolishing everybody in the Escalation League. Aaron, gentlemen, good morning.
Morning.
Hey, so this week we will be live streaming from Go Back in Fresno. I believe the store opens at 3:30. I know I'll be there hopefully around 5:15, set everything up, and live stream a game at 5:30. That's really all our podcast news. We tried the new camera, everything worked out pretty well. I like the video a lot better. So that's all I got for podcast news. You guys got anything news-wise for the podcast?
No, nope.
Where are we at with the Escalation League? Maybe we can get an update on that.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Yeah, so everybody finished their round 2 game. 3 2-0s. So unfortunately, one of the 2-0s is gonna have to face someone who's 1-1. It looks like we have 6 1-1s and then 3 0-2s. So it's gonna be good fun. Round 3 is a 100-point list. And so how it's gonna work for the final round is there's gonna be 2 O's going against each other, or two 2-0s, and then there's gonna be a 2-0 versus a 1-1. If the 2-0 versus the 1-1 wins and goes on, and then obviously there's gonna be both 3-0s. As long as everybody agrees that's in the tournament that they want a final definite winner, those people can do another round. Just them. That way we have a definite winner for the Escalation League. So yeah, so that's just how the cookie crumbles, and it's gonna be awesome. I'm excited. I'm excited to announce the pairings when I get all the lists, but I'm still missing a couple lists. So as soon as I get that, I'll go ahead and update everybody.
Yeah, I need to send mine in still.
Yeah, that would be me too. I'm gonna be really honest right here. The reason you don't have my list is because I don't have my list.
Figures.
So I'll play around with it.
If we get a final round like that, we'll have to do like a big live stream event. That'd be pretty cool.
Oh, that would be a great idea.
Yeah.
I'm done with that for sure.
It's gonna be JR in the live stream watch.
Started from the bottom, now I'm here.
Hey, let's jump into this tournament. The Cincinnati Open. Looks like there was a lot of Stabcast people. There's a reason in particular I picked this tournament. Can you guys take a guess why?
The top 4, potentially top 5 are Rebels.
That is exactly it. The top 4 are Rebels.
I honestly thought you picked an only Rebel tournament because I was like, what's going on with all these Rebels in the top? And then I went down further. I was like, oh, okay, other factions are in this.
So the top 5 might be the person in 5th place, his name's Mason, did not submit a list. But the first non-Rebel for sure is Matt, who played CIS. And he came in at 6th. But let's talk about the winner. He went 5-0. Matt Evans. He ran, and I really like this list, Jin Orso with Vigilance, Situational Awareness, Targeting Scopes, and the Blaster. My boy R2D2 with C3PO. Fleet Troopers with the Scattergun, the R5. Rebel Troopers with the R5. Wookiee Warriors. That's what I'm talking about right there. With the battle shield, Into the Fray, Tenacity, and Prepared Supplies. Rebel Commandos with the Sniper. 1 speeder truck with the R5, Unorthodox Ignition, Rider Azadi, the Quad Laser, Onboard Comms Channel, and the Land Speeder with a Rifle Gunner, the Gonk Droid, Shiv, Mark II Medium Blaster, and Onboard Comms Channel. That is a list.
Yeah, this list is bonkers. Like, it really doesn't focus on any one thing. It just kind of throws a bunch of things at you and just be like, deal with this.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's like, because I'm looking like, even if I knew this list, playing clones, like, yeah, I can get a counter for Wookiees. I can make a counter for the heavies. I can't make a counter for everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a great list. Obviously piloted well if you went 5-0. So that's what I got from him. I would
You
have
know what
liked
I
to see
like?
him on live stream.
I like that he took Jin's SE14 blaster. I never seen any Jin play his blaster because I was wondering why is he taking targeting scopes? And then I see this blaster and I'm like, oh, 5 whites, Pierce 1 suppressive, and Surge to crit. I can see how that could be a problem for people.
Right. And
Sharpshooter 1.
I was surprised that it was Jin by herself, like he didn't put in Cassian or anybody like that. But
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it worked. He freaking 5-0. I'm happy with. I'd be happy with that.
Yeah. I like the land speeder in this list. I like how decked out both of his heavies are, like
Mhm.
max upgrades on both of them.
Yeah.
Really makes him threatening.
Especially like if you put Jin inside the land speeder,
Hmm.
she's got heavy cover, danger sense, and then if quick thinking gives her dodge, she has vigilance, so she and nimble, so she's always gonna have a dodge.
Yep.
That's oh man, that's beautiful.
Yeah, and then the fleets and the rebels, just repairing stuff. It's like he put a lot of thought into it, and I would have liked to have seen this played.
I don't know if I see so many of these astromechs, I'm not shooting heavies. I'm not.
Yeah, but you have to. You can't let the speeder truck and the land speeder both do whatever they want. Because that's kind of a lot of firepower you're taking. Because these are like, that's got the quad laser, and the other one has what, 2 weapons upgrades?
Yeah.
Yep.
So like
Yeah.
they're not just transports. These are attacking you, and they're
Yeah.
not that expensive. So if you let them just hit, they're gonna punch way above their weight.
Yep. I would have thrown the Wookiees and Jin into the transport, let them get where they want to go, have follow up with the fleets and the rebels just to repair. And that's how I would have done it. C3PO doing C3PO things.
I actually disagree with you. I think you put I think you put the fleet troopers in the bus because Wookiees have a
Scale.
scale.
Yeah.
So
They also have implacable, so they're not gonna get suppressed to slow down. So if you run them behind the bus, they probably either get heavy cover or line of sight blocked.
mhm. Yep.
It probably depends on the matchup, because it is so nice to have those Wookiees jump out of that bus.
Oh yeah.
So that was first place.
Oh, then he took Ryder Azada in the AA5 that increases your speed by 1. So his bus is moving at speed 2. Damn. That's bonkers.
So that was first place. Daniel, you want to take second?
Sure, let me get this up here.
While he's bringing it
Alright.
up, second is Ryan Siloski from the Stabcast.
So in second place, we have another rebel list. It is Cassian Andor with offensive push, situational awareness, and his gun that has both the loadouts. He's got a rebel officer with vigilance and portable scanners, Sabine Wren with situational awareness, prepared supply, personal combat shield, and the dark saber. Got K2SO with emergency transponders and Jin's blaster. He's got fleet troopers, completely naked, 2 squads of naked rebel troopers, 2 sniper. Are these full teams?
Those are full teams.
Those are full teams. I was about to say strikes, but no, these are 2 full rebel commandos with snipers, and the Mandalorian Resistance Clan Red with situational awareness, emergency transponders, and prepared supplies. This list also has a 9-point bid, so they're trying to play their battle deck.
That's another hard list because I mean K2, Sabine, and Cassian. It's like, who do I want to target? And they're all going to be fairly tanky.
Yeah, honestly, probably my first target would be Clan Ren, just because you can lower their firepower by hitting them a couple times, and then pick a hero after that.
You would think that, Daniel. You would think that. Okay. I went against Omar on Wednesday, and he had Clan Ren. I'm not kidding you. I fire supported, shooting over 11 dice, getting about 7 through past cover,
Uh-huh.
and he blocked them all every time. I was so. They survived to the end, and they lost one guy out of the whole Clan Ren. I was like, man, that's nuts.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, another strong list. I didn't look. Let me look to see if Ryan and Matt faced each other. I don't think they did. Oh, they did. Matt actually took out Ryan in round 4.
I really like that both of these two lists took Jin's Blaster. So like you were saying, I think Jin's Blaster is the magic ticket, at least at this tournament.
List number. Nope.
I was gonna say I don't know why I don't see people take it more often because she surges to crit. That's 5 whites. I mean, I get it, they're white dice, but
Yeah.
still.
I think it's just her default blaster is not bad because it starts at 4 black. So it
Mhm.
doesn't feel like a huge upgrade to go from 4 black to 5 white. So if you need the points, it's a good place to take them.
Is her other gun like free? I think it's free, isn't it?
Her other gun, I mean, it just comes, it's just on her card.
Yeah.
No, she doesn't have a weapon. She has a melee weapon.
Oh, yeah, I must have been
Yeah,
just looking at her melee weapon.
yeah, or melee. But I think the other one's free if I'm not mistaken. I don't got it pulled up right now.
Let me see if I can pull it up. I don't have Rebels up. She is a commander. Hello, Jim.
Yeah, it is free.
It is free.
I think that's why people might want to use that 5 points for somewhere else.
Yeah, and it's 2 red and a white, a range 2, or 2 black and a white. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's pretty solid.
Hey, because you brought up Omar, I kind of want to pause this tournament. We'll get back into number 3 real quick. But I want to give a quick shout out to Omar. By the time you listen to this, it will be all done. But Omar is over in Burbank right now at the Geeky Tea and Games, I believe is what it's called, in their store, Star Wars Legion tournament. He sent me his list yesterday. So just real quick, guys, I know I'm getting sidetracked here, but fleet troopers with the scattergun, rebel troopers, rebel vets with the CM93 trooper, situational awareness, targeting scopes. Another vets with that same trooper, comms tech, situational awareness, targeting scopes, HQ uplink. Medium blaster, Leia with commanding presence, vigilance, portable scanners. 2 strike teams with the sniper, ATRT with the laser, two laser cannon teams, 1 with the barrage generator, and Clan Ren with jetpack rockets.
I like the 2 laser cannon teams. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So that tournament should be starting, I think, another hour and a half from when we're recording. So Omar, good luck. I hope you take first, and maybe we'll see if we can get you on the podcast next week so we can talk about the tournament. And those of you in the LA area, if you have never been to the Geeky Tea and Games, again, I believe that's what it's called. I actually love that store. Every time I'm in the LA area, I go out of my way to go there. So take a stop by, say hi, and check it out.
What's it
Nice.
called?
Let me get the actual name. It's Geeky Teas is what it's called.
Got it.
Is that the same list that you practiced against JR?
Say again.
Just the list that Omar was running. Is it similar to what he was practicing against you?
No. He sent me his list. He's running something totally different.
Okay. I was just
But
curious.
it looks like a great list. And again, it's one of those lists like, what do you go for? There's just so much.
Yeah, he's running a 14 act list. And it just looks bonkers fun to play.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right, back to this tournament. 3rd place, JR.
3rd place is rocking. Leia, nothing on her. Rebel veterans, with the 93 trooper, rebel officer, Pike soldiers with the electrical whip, capo, and environmental gear. Another soldier with disruptor soldier and the capo. Two rebel troopers with the ion trooper and the rebel trooper captain, offensive push. A Mark II, two Wookiee warriors with the bowcaster and offensive push, and then the rebel pathfinders with Biston, duck and cover, and the free gun that they get.
I was surprised to see the Ion Trooper. Quite
Yeah.
honestly, he must have thought there would have been there was a lot of heavies coming, which I mean, second place there was, but two Ion Troopers to me isn't really enough to, in my eyes, to cover that.
Well, it looks like, I mean, he's also putting offensive push on these rebel troopers. So it looks like he's aiming to see if he can recover a couple times per game. Because then he can get that O pushback, get that free aim, and then also recover the ion gun. Because that gun's fine if you didn't have to recover it. So if you're planning on recovering anyways, it's not a bad choice.
Yeah, I feel like that's his whole point: is move in position, take the aim, shoot the ion gun, and then next turn recover and shoot. Um, that's what my assumption would be with what he's doing.
Yep.
Great list. I mean, I feel the other lists were a little bit stronger, but this is still would be a nice list to go up against.
This list
I-
is packing 2 pikes, so there's something to be said about that.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, Adam, I think you'd lose against this list, to be honest.
You know, we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, yeah, we will.
I'll go ahead and take fourth place. It is, oops, I should probably say his name. It was 2, 3, 4. Trace H. I'm not even gonna try your last name. Maybe I'll try Hazel Baker.
Hazel Baker.
Went 3-2. He had the rebel officer, vigilance, prepared supplies. He had OP Luke with force reflexes, situational awareness. R2D2 by himself. Rebel vets with an extra vet and OP. 2 rebel troopers with the Z6 and a Mark II. He has a Tauntaun rider with up close and personal, 1 swoop bike, and an A5 speeder truck. So this one, a couple things surprised me. First one is no push on Luke. To me, push is an auto include. So I would have tried to change something around just to get that in there. Like I would have took off prepared supplies on the officer and something
Yep.
else.
And then trade out that force reflexes.
Yep.
His push is it's such a useful piece. It's wild.
Yeah, and especially with
It's
the, go ahead.
Oh, it's funny that you say that because my game against Omar, I was running Obi-Wan because I want to make him great again against them, and I decided not to take push. I took force reflexes and barrier, and I was playing, and my roommate was there, and as we were playing, I got aggressive with Obi-Wan, and it's like I double move, and then I'll force push, and I force pushed him, and then my buddy John was just like, You don't have force push." I was like, "Oh, you're right. I didn't take force push," and I felt so bad. I was just like, "Man, this is why you take force push. It's a staple on every Jedi. You need to it."
Yeah, it's
It
just
has
not
to
that
be.
many points for the amazing utility it gives you.
Yeah. And
Um,
even though you don't think you're gonna be in a situation where you need it, you're gonna get into a situation where you're gonna need it.
Yeah.
just to sidetrack a little bit more and go with Obi being great again. I honestly think the problem with Obi is his command cards, since since the nerf of only sharing 1 token with clones. I don't want 30 surges on clones anymore. So I think
What?
I think give him exemplar and give him on his command card that passes out all the tokens. I would say for just add it to where it's say, and for this turn you have unlimited token sharing.
So I actually disagree with you. Sure, I could see the argument being made to give him exemplar, but Obi-Wan, I think, is just fine where he's at because his role is to be defensive. He's not offensive at all, and people don't like to play him defensive. Like in my game against Omar, he was just guarding everything. He was burying everything, and he was, had a bunch of dodges because of force reflexes, and he also had a defensive stance.
Yeah.
But I think that's the problem with people with Obi-Wan. They want him to be aggressive, and he's not. If you play his role, he's really good. It's just playing defensive in Star Wars Legion isn't always a good idea.
The problem is that that build for Obi-Wan costs almost 200 points. Actually, probably a little over 200 points. Because I've been messing around with Obi-Wan too, and it's just too much. He just costs a little bit too much for what he gets done. Because at 200 points, you're looking at like a Palpatine Yoda level Force user. And those guys, they bring a lot more to the table.
But I
Mhm.
mean, like if you're shooting at a clone trooper, right? That's assuming they're behind heavy cover. That's blocking two. Obi-Wan's dodging one of those, and then he could bury potentially two more or a crit. So let's say four, and then he could guardian three of those. So that's already seven that he's guardian
But they
or
go,
seven.
he
Well,
still has to roll against those three.
true, true. That
And
that's
But
the
that's the
again,
thing.
problem, is that he runs out of health. And then all of a sudden you're like, yeah, my Jedi died from plinks.
Yeah,
It feels bad.
that is the feels bad for sure,
Yeah.
for sure.
I actually really like using his Guardian to, I'm trying to make a list where I use his Guardian to protect Wookiees. Because I feel like changing the white not surging save into a red surging save is amazing.
Hmm.
So I'm trying to max value that way. We'll see. We'll see.
Ooh, that's a good idea. You should do that.
I think Obi-Wan is in a good spot. The card itself, a little overpriced, yes. It's his command cards that need to be reworked. Just again,
So
because the unlimited token sharing kind of made, I mean, I'm looking two of them, not useless, but not as good as they used to be.
Oh, the other two are pretty good still. I mean,
yeah.
like the massive amount of dodges on Obi and he can Guardian melee. And then the other one's the aims and dodges on Obi, which just
Right.
take
So
dodges.
knowledge and defense, which gives Obi a dodge token for each friendly trooper at range 1 and lets him guardian during melee. Again, it's a good card, but if I end up with 12 dodge, I don't know, let's be realistic, 9 dodges on Obi, I want to share them.
Well,
Yeah.
but
But
the
he'll just
thing
be
is like,
guardianing everything and deflecting a punch.
yeah, just guardian all those whatever being shot at. What sucks though, I do agree with you guys, is that it'd be cool if he can Sasori mastery like vehicles, because in that list that I played against Omar, I took 2 bark speeders and an ATRT to have surge to hit off my fire support platforms, and I couldn't guardian vehicles, and that was a feel bad because he was focusing he's like, I'm not gonna shoot the troopers, I'm just gonna shoot at the vehicles, like, which makes sense.
Yeah.
But I just kitted out with Obi what he had. He's just under 200. He's at 195.
Oh,
It's
nice.
expensive, still expensive, but yeah, he's just shy of 2.
I don't know what I'm doing that drives mine up to 200 then. I'll have to take a look.
Bro, you just probably put on like everything,
Right.
everything
Oh,
that
I have
costs a
force
lot.
push. That's what it is.
Well, Force Bearers is the same price at 10 points.
That's true. Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe you have Force Barrier and Force Push.
No, I don't take barrier on that list because
Oh,
I run
okay.
out of force slots.
Got it. Got it.
Hey, so let's move on to some games. I got in a grand total of 1 game, if you want to call it a game, this past week. I did my escalation game against Carson. You can actually catch that out on our YouTube. And I got beat like a redheaded stepchild. It was a combination of Carson ran or piloted an excellent game. He did everything that he could do. Great player. And his dice were hot. I would love to say that his dice were loaded, but we were sharing dice.
Well, then they're
So,
loaded.
well, hold on. And
'Cause
then
they're your dice.
we were sharing my dice.
Yeah.
So the very first roll of the game with 1 aim, he gets 4 crits against some Wookiees, and and then I got 4 blanks, and that's pretty much how the entire game went. He tabled me by the end of round 3. So if it was a fun game. I had fun. Carson had fun. There was a lot of trash talking, and again, not trying to take anything away from him. Carson's a great player, but yeah, that was my game.
Do you think you could have did better in that game?
Yes, I made a lot of personal mistakes. I was way too aggressive with the Wookiees. I just kind of threw them out there like, let's see what happens. And I should have been a lot more conservative and made him come to me.
Yeah, when I saw you was watching your game, um, they were in the order pool, but in the first turn, I think you should have gave the Wookiees the order so they can go last because you always want to go last first with Wookiees, and you pulled the Wookiees right off the bat because random, and you had to
Yep.
put them in a spot where they're gonna get shot. So yeah, it kind of sucked, but I mean, it's learning. You're learning.
Yeah. No, and honestly, I'm a better player than that. I like to think I'm a better player than that. I wasn't on my game that night, and
You know, I I
life
feel like
happens.
I feel like I have stock in this game, and I'm like more PO than anything because I'm trying to rig this tournament, and you're just not letting me. You're not letting me at all.
Yeah, so that was my game, my escalation league game. I am now one of the one-on-one people. I have no idea where I'm going with this list. I was thinking about adding some pikes, and I can get this list up to 12 or 13 activations. Or I might just throw in some heavies and some I'm honestly considering some Wookiee copters. So
Ooh, I
Yeah.
like
yeah.
the idea of Wookiee copters. Just stay in theme, Adam.
Yes, I agree with that.
So that was my game. Daniel, did you get your any games in?
Yeah, so I played my Invader League game, the one that we talked about, prepped for last time. So yeah, I'll give the report on that. We
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this.
yeah, it was a really good game. Setup, we ended up playing hostile environment, payload, and advanced positions. So I was actually
Awesome.
really happy with the way that this shook down. At the
Wait,
end, I
wait, wait.
had yeah.
I was gonna say, can you go over the the battle deck process? Like, what
Yeah.
was first? Didn't know that. Yeah.
So basically, the two objectives that I was most worried about were hostage and bombing run, and those were the first two in the slots. And so he actually chose to ban away. I don't remember if it was hostage or bombing run because I just had them both in like big red letters in my mind. And so he slashed one of them, and I was super happy. So I slashed the other. And then in the deployment area, the first option was advanced positions. The second option was hemmed in. And so I didn't really want to do advanced positions. That was probably like my second least favorite of his options. But I for sure didn't want to ban to advanced positions or ban to hemmed in. So I chose to just stay with advanced positions on there. And then at the bottom, it was minefield and hostile environment. And he banned away minefield, which makes sense because I don't care about minefield. That would probably be the worst one for him. And so I actually ended up passing my last ban because I could pick at the top between either payload was up or I could go into breakthrough. And so I thought about doing breakthrough, but when I was looking at it, when we do advanced positions, because it's a little bit spread out, I was like, I think I can make it so that our payloads don't get too close to each other. And if I can keep our payloads from touching, then I can force Vader and Mando to split, and I'll be able to probably just win one of the two carts, which means that it'll come down to whether or not I get a bounty, right? I was like, okay, that sounds like a better approach to me than trying to beat the bikes at breakthrough, especially because advanced positions just has like the little rim, so it's really hard to get into for slow things like battle droids. So we ended up staying on payload. So that was basically what we did. I think our discussion helped us a lot because I was able just to be like, yep, my good options are payload and breakthrough, and not even worry about thinking about, oh, can I do bombing run? Just letting that get slashed out of the way.
Oh yeah.
Um,
I'm
so
gonna
yeah,
I'm gonna be so surprised if he's the one that slashed bombing run because that's like a shoo-in for your
no, I think
bikes.
he slashed hostage.
Okay, so
Yeah,
if hostage was first, I get his thinking. He's just like, well, bomb run's a no-brainer for me.
right. Yeah, I think he slashed, and it was actually yeah, he slashed maybe yeah. I think he slashed hostage. I
Mhm.
might have banned first there, and then he banned hostage, something like that.
Yeah.
But I think he ended up banning hostage, and I banned bombing run. Yeah, because bombing run, yeah, I can't win that against
No.
the bikes. That would have been really, really hard. Um, especially on advanced positions, because then my troopers have to start inside the deployment zone so that they can
Oh
start with the
yeah.
bomb.
Yeah.
So they start even further away. So it would be the worst. But so we went to deployment. We ended up setting up our payloads and I was able to make it so that they're basically gonna pass parallel, so that they're not gonna get very close to each other. The closest they'll ever get is like range 2. So there's like one spot where a guy can stand and stop both, but they can't be like fully engaged in both. So I was really happy with that. I set up all my like, B1s and Magnus. There was like a little hill, and that's where my payload was set up. So all my B1s and Magnus basically started on or behind that hill, getting good cover and like hiding from bikes, because the bikes were set up on like the north side of the battlefield, just looking for a flank. I had Bosk. Bosk I set up so that he could target the area where his payload would have to move. So I was basically just going to have him move up on top of a piece of terrain and then just cover the whole area and just take shots. I saw him setting up his stormtroopers to move his payload, which totally makes sense. But Bosk can erase like a stormtrooper squad a turn. And so it's like, okay, they'll have to walk towards Bosk. Bosk will murder them. And then hopefully there won't be enough of them to keep the payload moving. I divulged CAD and I put his bomb also in the path of his payload closer to the end, so that once it hit, there would only probably be like 1 or 2 guys left, hoping to maybe get some panic, get them to just not push the payload. I ended up bountying like what we talked about. I bountied both Mando and his generic commander, because Vader's a beast. And so I took the 2 easier targets. He ended up bountying, because Mando gets to bounty. He bountied my CAD. So I was a little bit nervous about that, because CAD is a little bit squishy, especially if Mando gets into melee with the Beskar spear. That would be rough to try to deal with. So round 1.
Where'd you deploy CAD?
CAD is basically closer to the bikes, but mostly in the middle. So he's like behind a building near where the bikes are going to approach.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So round 1, I reveal CAD. He's outside of range of, anybody really seriously attacking him. But he jumps Mando forward and takes just a pot shot with his pistol. He has to spend the aim to get the long shot. And so it's not like a strong shot. It's 3 dice coming in. All it does is add a suppression. I don't even have to spend one of my dodges. So that felt good. But then he decides that he really wants to start putting wounds on CAD. And so he sends his bikes forward and has them take shots at CAD, who's getting heavy cover at this point because he is behind a building, but he ends up chewing through my dodges. And so now at this point, CAD's a little bit nervous about his forward position, because there's 2 bikes that have gone forward and shot, or 1 bike has gone forward, shot at him, and chewed up both of his dodges. And Mando went forward and shot at him and added a suppression. So he's sitting on 2 suppression and no dodges anymore. So I go with CAD. CAD jumps, and CAD, I had this experience against the Staps as well, but CAD is really good at killing these speeders, because he does get to shoot through their cover, and he has sharpshooter, and so he's able to, or he has his pierce. So with the surging white saves, usually they'll get 1, right? Like if you put 3 hits through, they'll usually get 1. You'll usually pierce it, so you usually kill a bike. That's a big deal. And so that's exactly what he did. I aimed and shot. He shot 4. I think he rolled 2, and so I pierced 1, brought it down, killed a bike. And so then once you start getting those bikes dropped, like those squads are basically neutered. They're not really a threat anymore. So he was able to do that. Vader is just slowly walking up.
Is he walking towards your payload or keeping his
He's
payload?
slowly approaching my payload. So Vader and Mando are both approaching my payload, and then his stormtroopers and his officer are guiding his payload. I send out 1 squad, a full squad of B1s, Bosk, and 1 of my 2 Magnas to go kind of approach his payload. That's kind of like my attack team. And then everybody else is staying to help guide my payload. And so we go into round 2. I end up getting a lot of range 4 pot shots off. I take some at stormtroopers, some at Mando, and I don't do any damage, but I'm able to put a lot of suppression on Mando. And then Bosk shoots at Mando and puts 2 more suppression and 2 wounds on him. So Mando's now sitting at 3 health. And this is still round 1. He's sitting at 3 health, and he has 3 suppression on him at the end of the round. And so second round, I play CAD's 1 pip, and he plays Fear and Deadman, and he just dives Vader into my lines using burst of speed, which makes sense. I didn't think about it because I was like, oh, if he charges in, then I'll be able to withdraw and I'll be able to shoot at him. And that's true, but Vader's also generating so many dodges that it's dangerous and not very effective to shoot at him. And I still have lots of other soft targets that I need to shoot at. So he jumps forward with Vader. I decide I'm just going to ignore Vader.
Yeah.
He'll let him have his dodges this turn. I'm not going to do anything about it. And I use Bosk to take another shot at Mando. And he doesn't do any wounds, but he adds 2 more suppression. And so at this point, Mando's sitting at 4 suppression because he got 1 off at the end of the turn. So sitting at 4 suppression. And Mando's courage is only 3. And while Vader has compel, his compel is only for regular troopers, for core. So he goes with Mando because he realizes Mando might be short actions now. Tries to roll off the suppression and he does not. So Mando only gets 1 action, and this was a huge deal. So Mando, he doesn't have steady, he doesn't have relentless, he's not in a good place to take a shot. And so he ends up trying to just go with Vader. And so he just does a speed 3 jump. Ends up like in a good cover spot. So he's heavy cover behind a barricade, but he doesn't do anything really. And he's kind of like near my whole army. And so I take my squad of Magnus, who is going to go approach the payload, and they go and they move towards him and take a shot. And they get a full boat, and Mando dies. And that was a huge deal, because that's basically the game when it's like, oh, Vader's now on his own. There's nobody coming to help Vader, and the payload is now being guarded by only short stormtroopers and Karen, and my Magnus don't have to be here anymore, so they're gonna go back and continue that assault. That round, my B1s that went to go attack the payload are able to put 2 wounds on the officer. His bikes swing around to try to deal damage, but they're kind of staggered at this point, right? One of them's basically crippled. The other Magnus squad gets a full shot on one of the bikes, brings down just one of their bikes. B1s shoot, bring down another bike. So I think one of the bikes gets eliminated. 2 of the bikes are down to 1-man squads. Cad actually got suppressed enough where he doesn't get his 2 actions, even though it's his 1 pip turn. So he only shot once and he finished off a bike. So the bikes are basically dealt with. Mando's dead. It's just Vader inside of my lines. And then we go into round 3, and I give I play Bosk's 2 pip, and he plays Implacable with Vader. Bosk uses his 2 pip, he fires twice, takes Karen out for the bounty, and then wipes a squad of stormtroopers. And so now there's only 3 squads of stormtroopers guiding his payload. I charge in with Magnus, they kill one of the squads of stormtroopers. My B1s move up, his payload's now stuck. So I have his payload stuck with my Magnus and B1s against his 2 squads of stormtroopers. And they don't have officers or anybody helping them. I finish off the other bike with Cad. And then this turn was, I always kind of underestimate Vader because I play like other Force users a lot. You see Luke, you see Maul, and they're like both kind of aggressive and they kill some guys, but they don't kill guys like Vader kills guys. This turn, up until now, I've lost like 2 or 3 B1s. I've gotten 1 wound on a Mando and 1 wound on Cad. So basically everyone's happy and healthy. And then on Vader's turn, he kills a total of 12 B1s and he chokes a Magna Guard to death. So all of a sudden I'm out 2 full squads of B1s because Vader's just a monster. And that's my opponent at this point. So this is round 3. Round 3.
He's playing Op Vader or
No, this is Commander Vader.
Okay. So how was, if he did burst of speed the turn before, how's he moving?
He because it comes off at the end of the first Implacable.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yep. So first Implacable, he aim standby, and then he triggered that, murdered the whole squad of B1s. And then second turn, he moved and took out the next squad of B1s, and then he choked to death one of the Magnus.
Yep.
And it was at when he was making his turn, he said, yeah, game is basically over because his payload stopped. All he's really got is Vader. And so he's like, yeah, game is basically over, but I just want to see what Vader can do. So do you mind if we play this out? I was like, oh, I want to see what Vader can do too. And that's what Vader can do. He can kill 12 B1s in a Magna Guard in a turn. It was pretty wild.
It's nice.
So we go into round 4. I play Bosk's Lion Weight. He plays Vader's Might. Vader goes, wipes another squad of B1s. I clean up a bunch of my Magnas and my B1s on his payload, clean up his stormtroopers. So it's literally just Vader now, and my whole army that's there shoots at Vader, and I have like one squad of B1s that's off escorting the payload or whatever, and we end up bringing him down. But it was very impressive showing by Vader to only get 2 turns of real combat and to wipe 3 squads of B1s and kill a Magna Guard. He's a blender,
Oh yeah.
and we were talking about it after, and really the key point of this game was when Mando tried to jump in. If he had survived with Mando that turn and was able to bring him in, I would have had a lot of problems because he probably would have been able to stop my payload and they would have started blenderizing everything.
Yeah. It's funny because that's how you want to play Mendo, right? He wants to get in,
Yeah,
because he's all about being melee and shooting really close. But by you getting in, you're gonna get shot at, and even those you have a good enough save, rolling those blanks just hurt.
yeah.
So, man, kudos to your game, man. That sounds like a fun game to play.
It
All right,
was
so
exciting.
you're in the
Yeah,
eliminations now, right?
I am. Yeah, so I qualified for single eliminations. I think our group like played our game super fast. So single eliminations, the group stage technically doesn't end for like 10 more days. Once that ends, then I'll get a single elimination opponent.
Hell
That'll be
yeah.
fun.
That'd be awesome.
JR, did you get a game in?
Yeah, I got a game against Omar. And in Omar's game, I actually played the clones and I took Obi-Wan with the kid out we talked about earlier. One squad of phase ones with 5s, and then 3 more with the Z6, 2 bark speeders. I believe they have comm jammer on them, and then the ATRT with nothing on it. Took the clone commander, and I had 1 naked phase ones. So pretty much he took AA5, Sabine, and Clan Ren, and fleets, rebel troopers, and ATRT, and a strike team with a saboteur. So pretty much how this game went, we did advanced positions, and it was breakthrough. And the condition was, I'm gonna say clear. I think it's 45 position. Yeah, it's 45 position. So pretty much I scouted into the middle of the field. So that way anything that's approaching me, he had a nice line of sight blocker right in his advanced position. So all he really needed to do was to move all the way towards my advanced position to get his breakthrough. But he kind of put the bus on the other side, and he put the fleets in there, and then he put a rebel trooper with the bus. Um, he used Clan Ren and Sabine to jump onto the building to start shooting at me. And my turn, I just pretty much fire support whenever I got a bark speeder or ATRT to get the surge to hit. Yeah, and like I said before, I was getting 7 hits past cover, and Clan Ren would block them all. This didn't just happen one time. This happened about 5 times, and it was so like frustrating. But I was at the same time I wasn't frustrating because I was just like, that's Mandos for you, man. When they get their saves, they get their saves. But it really came down to was eventually since I was not getting any wounds on Clan Ren, I was getting suppression, and they eventually had to panic, go behind the building. Um, Sabine, however, wasn't making her saves, and she doesn't get a free dodge from retinue. So I was able to kill Clan Ren with fire support shots because I said I'm not shooting Clan Ren no more. Uh, then the bus came forward. I shot the bus down. Obi-Wan goes, strikes it down. I force pushed the fleets into the open. I light them up with fire support, and it's pretty much double moving, dwindle it down. We talked to Omar after the game, and we pretty much agreed he should have put all his army behind that building line of sight blocker, because he really had no threat, and he had to just double move to get to my advanced position and get all those points for breakthrough. Which would have definitely changed the game because I would have had to swing my army to kill some things while I'm headed towards his.
Mm.
But man, Clan Ren, dude, they were just so. And at one point, I think I got 1 through, and then I was just like, "Oh, thank God, I killed a Clan Ren unit." It's like now they have 2 health. I'm like, they have 2 health. Oh, God. So, but it was a great game. We learned a lot. and I learned a lot that you always take force push because I didn't have force push. It didn't really matter because that force push was for fun, but I'm glad my buddy there was to catch me and like, hey, you didn't take it this time. I was like, oh yeah, I didn't take it. So that was my game with Omar. It was a pretty fun game.
Yeah, force push again, auto include. It's got to be an auto include.
Yes, I agree.
Hey, we're running short on time. We like to talk, imagine that. But I want to get to Vader's command cards. It's kind of what I was bringing up right now. We said we are going to talk about it. I do know that you would like Vader's might, JR. So I'll go ahead and lead with implacable. When Darth Vader activates, he gains 1 dodge token. At the end of Darth Vader's first activation, he may suffer 1 wound to shuffle his order token into the order pool. During Darth Vader's second activation, he performs 1 fewer action. Actions. I mean, if you want to be grammatically correct. I think this card is self-explanatory. Just simply, he gets a dodge at the start of his first activation, and then he can suffer a wound and put his back into the pool. To me, this is a great card when like you're going up against another Jedi user or somebody that can threaten Vader, just to get 2 attacks in at one time or run away undercover. I don't think there's really too much thought into this card other than I want/need to take 2 turns in 1 round. Is that a fair assessment on that one?
Yeah, I was gonna say a couple things I want to add to that implacable that a lot of people might not know is what Daniel had said before is like if he has an immobilize, he gets rid of it after his first act, and then when he shuffles it in, he doesn't have the immobilize anymore. Same thing with burst of speed. If you burst of speed that turn, you get it for your second act as well, not just the 1 act. And then another thing is like you get Master of Force twice.
Yeah,
So you
that's
can
a
do
big deal.
yeah, you can do
Mhm.
some shenanigans with that. So those are important things to think about when you're playing implacable. Like you have some options to do some shenanigans.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about like an intercept turn, if it's like a scoring turn or last turn of the game, you could theoretically kill a squad, force push a squad off the point, kill another squad, force push another squad off the point with this card. That is a 4-point swing. There's no way you're losing the point after that. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
this card
And
used
then
in the right way, it's crazy.
imagine taking force choke on top of that. So now it's 6 points that you could swing off the key position or intercept. Just force choking the leader, and yeah.
Yep. I mean, great card. Love it. To me, for a 1 pip, auto include. Like, I cannot think of a situation where you do not want to have 2 actions or 2 turns in 1 round. So JR, we're gonna go Vader's might.
Okay, so the moment we've been waiting for, the clarification. Okay. So it says choose another non-heavy unit at range 1 and place that unit on the battlefield within range 1 and height 1 of its current position. Then if it is an enemy unit, roll 1 white defense die for each mini in the unit. That unit suffers 1 wound for each shield or surge. So to clarify for my game with Jonathan is Daniel and Jonathan were correct. Is you can't put them on a height 2 down to ground level or infinite 4. You have to put them down a height level. So in this case, the height 2, I had to put them on a height 1, or I could have put them on a height 3. So Jonathan, if you're listening, man, I'm sorry. I made that mistake, but I thought I just made a mistake.
Hey,
So yeah,
thanks for continuing the streak of you admitting that you have cheated in every game since we have started this podcast.
Stay continued for hearing about how I cheated against Omar. so yeah. So one thing I did want to note is that I don't see a lot of people do, or a lot of people, just might not have the option to, is it doesn't have to be an enemy unit. You could do your own buddies. I don't know a situation where you want to. I'm sure there is potential like very skewed situations. But yeah,
I've heard
that's
like
the thing.
slingshotting dewbacks is a thing.
Yeah, that's right. You mentioned that. Which, yeah, that would be fun to do. This
Right.
is definitely an auto include, in my opinion. You definitely want that. It's
yeah.
less powerful of how I played it, but but it's still powerful.
Daniel, you want to take new ways to motivate them?
All right, so new ways to motivate them. This is one of the original Commander Vader cards. It gives orders to 2 troopers. It's a 2-pip. And when a friendly non-Darth Vader trooper unit with a face-up order token activates, it may suffer 1 wound to perform a 1 free action. So there's a couple specific things about this card. First off, it only says trooper units with a face-up order. So it doesn't require the order to be given by this card. So if you use like HQ uplink to give an order, or if you coordinate with shore troopers, you can still use this ability on those troopers, which is really good. Also, one thing that I haven't thought about, I always pictured that you may suffer 1 free wound to perform 1 free action. In my mind, I've always used that as a move. Like that's how most of my games have panned out. But an edge case scenario, because this action happens before your rally step, you can actually use it to recover. So if you have a unit that's going to panic off the board and you play this card, they can take a wound to recover, and then they're not going to panic. They'll get both their actions. So that can be really good for maybe if like a dewback spurred too much when it was trying to get in, because 1 wound on a dewback doesn't matter, or if anybody's about to panic off the board.
Yep.
It's a really solid card.
It's a solid card. I like it. I mean, to me, the uses are situational. This is one of the cards that I would consider leaving at home if there was another 2-pip.
Right.
Like if there's something I wanted to take more, I don't think this is an auto include.
No, it's definitely worse than both the 1-pips.
Yeah, and there are times when 1 activation or 1 wound matters.
It's true.
Yeah, honestly, like it's really good for a dewback list because they don't care about taking a wound. But aside from that, there's not really much in the Empire's arsenal where you want to take a wound without losing a wound. I mean, maybe on Infernal Strike, and maybe Dark Troopers. I think Dark Troopers would benefit a lot from this.
I can see
because they
that.
are troopers. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, they're troopers units. So this is definitely, in my opinion, an auto include for Dark Troopers when they come out. Just because of what they can do, it's going to be bonkers.
All right, I'll go ahead and take his other 2-pip, Fear and Deadman, just Darth Vader himself. While Darth Vader uses deflect, the attacker suffers 1 wound for each blank result instead of each surge result. When an enemy unit at range 1 to 2 and in line of sight of Darth Vader activates, Darth Vader gains 1 dodge token. Another solid card. I don't know how I feel about the blanks instead of surges. I mean, he throws red dice. So I believe some statistician out there is going to correct me, but I believe you're more likely to roll a surge than a blank on red dice.
No, there's 2 blanks, 1 surge.
Okay. So, okay, a little bit better. Solid card, good card, not an auto include. What a simple change to me that would make this an auto include in any deck is the wording of the second part. So instead of in line of sight of Darth Vader activates, just in line of sight of Darth Vader. So kind of like Obi's cards where he gets a dodge for every friendly trooper at range 1 to 2. I would like to see Vader get a dodge for every enemy trooper at 1 to 2, regardless if they've activated or not.
Yeah, the one nice thing about this that you don't get with Obi's card is that he can charge at people, and then now when those people activate, if they're within that range, he gets the bonus from him. So he doesn't have to be there at the beginning. Because like that's how my opponent used it in the last game. Is he was far away from me, double moved in with Fear and Deadman, and so now he was at range 2 of my whole army.
Which I like it because it's super important to know, like, even if you roll a surge, deflect doesn't trigger now, but it only triggers on when you take a wound. And which is kind of nice because like if Vader's getting wounded, that means you're also dying in some capacity, which is nice.
To clarify, it's not when he takes a wound, it's when you roll a blank.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
don't be throwing your cheating false information out there, JR.
I mean, tomato.
Daniel, I believe you're on Master of Evil.
Master of Evil. So this is another OG command card from Vader. It's a 3-pip. It gives orders to Darth Vader and 2 units. When Darth Vader is issued an order, he gains 1 dodge token. When Darth Vader activates, each trooper unit at range 1 to 2 of him gains 3 suppression. So this card, man, 3 suppression is just a lot. This card has lost some value since it came out, just because droids don't care all that much. Like if they haven't already been suppressed, 3 suppression isn't a big deal to them. But if you're running like a suppression list, like if you're running Vader and Blizzard Force, I think this would be an auto include, because it'd be a good way to finish off units, or to add it before the turn where you can say you can't take off more than 1 suppression, because then everybody's going to be suppressed for 2 turns. Yeah, I mean, this card is very, I don't want to say situational, but it's situational based on your list. So if your list is very suppression heavy, for sure take it. If your list isn't suppression heavy, then it becomes situational.
Especially when it comes to battle deck, because if you're running hostile environment and war weary, those
Oh,
are
yeah.
like amazing for this card right here.
For sure.
Absolutely. But if you're running those in your battle deck, you are running a suppression list.
Very likely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Because Empire doesn't like those otherwise.
No.
I would agree with you, Daniel. If you're running a suppression list, this card is auto include. Like, don't even look at anything else. Dieter, last one.
Yeah, this one's Dark Descents, the 3-pip. Just gives an order to Vader. Permanent. If this card was not divulged, Vader gains reliable 2. And then divulge deployment unit step. Darth Vader gains 1 and must be deployed at the end of the setup. This card must be selected during round 1. So I like this card a lot. I think this is potentially a turn 1 card play. He doesn't surge to anything. So getting surge to hit, or surge to hit when you attack with your lightsaber is really good. And then you automatically don't need to have dodges because you have 2 surges for defense. His deploying divulge step is kind of situation. Honestly, I don't think you ever want to use it though, because even though you gain infiltrate, you have to be the last one deployed, and your opponent can just fan out and stop that from happening. I would like to see that the last sentence be eliminated. Not the last sentence, the second to last sentence, where it must be deployed at the end of the step. Because if Maul can infiltrate at any time, I think Vader should be able to as well.
I agree.
I don't know. I'm kind of okay with Vader not being able to, because he is just so much better at meat grinding than Maul is, right? If Maul dives into my lines, I have a problem, but it's more like a scalpel dove on me. Whereas like if Vader hits me on round 1, how do you recover from that? That's terrible.
That's true. It's true.
Yeah, but so my thing though here is Vader is I lost one of my headphones. Vader is the only person with infiltrate that must be at the end of the setup. So that's kind of my issue. I think this card is an auto include just for reliable 2.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd ever divulge. If I did, it's very situational.
Yeah, my opponent, who was running Vader, he did not actually take this card. This was the 3-pip he dropped because he wanted to bring the Whistling Birds for Mando.
Oh yeah.
So I do see situations where you do not take this, because the reliable 2, it's not all that necessary if you're reliably getting dodges, and that's what he did. He had vigilance, and so he kept making sure Vader always had a dodge. But yeah, still a very, very solid card.
Yeah, and I don't know. With your opponent's list, I almost would have dropped Master of Evil.
Yeah.
But
I mean, his list was locked, right? He couldn't change it once he saw.
Yeah, no, you can't.
Yeah.
That's why CAS is in that rare spot where it's good, because a lot of things that you could play against them, you normally don't take because it's not that beneficial. Vice versa, a lot of things that are beneficial to the other armies aren't beneficial against CIS. So it's like a weird conundrum. But yeah, man, because Master of Evil is an auto include, and that rare case in his situation facing you with the droids, it's just like, well, it just happened to land that way. I didn't plan for it to land that way.
So what heroes would you pair with Vader that would make you drop some of his command cards?
Vader's got one more command card. Standing orders. Yep, standing orders, 1 unit. I feel that this is an auto include. You kind of have to take this.
That was
you-
lame.
it was
I'll
lame,
give
but
you
it
shit.
amused me.
I'm giving you shit.
I think your opponent did right with if you bring Mando, you gotta drop one of his 3 pips. Whistling Birds to me on Mando is an almost auto include. I just think he chose the wrong one.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely arguable either way.
Yeah.
For against my list, for sure, it's the wrong one.
Let's see. And then Mando's 1 pip.
So we were
Um,
talking about it, and he was saying he should have taken, and because his experience through the tournament was that he needed to take Mando's card that gave him Relentless, because it was so hard to dive without Relentless. And he was
mhm.
like, "Yeah, I really regret not taking that card. Like that's the one that I think you have to take if you're taking Mando."
I feel like
So,
if you're taking the ambient rifle, I don't think you need to take the relentless one. But if you're taking Beth the spear, you need to take relentless.
mm.
Well, let's make Mando our topic of discussions for next week's cards, and we are out of time. For this, guys, at this point I want to say please get onto our Twitch, get onto our YouTube, join our Discord. I'll throw all that information on your screen.
We're not
We're
doing the
always-
rules questions.
No, we're not doing the rules questions. We're out of
That's
time,
like my
sir.
favorite segment. It's okay. It's all good.
We're out of time.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. But yeah, join us, guys. We're always talking about rules on our Discord. We're always talking trash, a lot of trash. And we just have some fun, general Star Wars memes. So I'll throw all that information on your screen. Join us, have fun with us. We'll see you guys this Wednesday at Go Back Gaming in Fresno. Feel free to jump on our Discord, send us private messages, whatever you like, if you need the address. One more time, Omar, have a great tournament, have fun, but you better come home with that first place trophy. I'm just throwing that out there. Come home with it or don't come home at all. That's all I got, guys. You guys got anything?
Just the Vader League, or not the Vader League, the Escalation League. Like I'm excited for everybody that is playing. I'm hoping everybody's having fun. We're nearing the final conclusion of our tournament, so I'm excited to see who's going to take that.
Well, we know it's not me. Daniel, you got anything?
I don't think so. No.
All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for joining me, and thank you everybody out in podcast land for listening. Hope you guys have a great week. We'll see you in a week.
See ya.